I've had it with being with an ugly old wife. I have a cute girlfriend now. I'm going to live with her, so divorce me right now.
My husband, Kevin, who made me quit my job and burdened me with the care of my bedridden father-in-law without any support, demanded a divorce. Hearing this made me feel like I had been punched in the head. You've been cheating on me? And you're serious about divorcing me? For her?
Yeah, that's right. I've been thinking about when to dump you anyway. Sign the divorce papers. I'm leaving this place today.
He then flaunted a large suitcase. What? You're leaving? What about your father?
Like I can't stand taking care of that bedridden old man. You take care of him. It's your responsibility.
But you're his son. You're abandoning your own father?
Say whatever you want. Oh, and I'll be taking Dad's inheritance, just so you know.
Shocked, I couldn't even open my mouth or stand up. Without listening to any plea, he left. Clenching my fists, I trembled alone. He forced the care of his father on me, cheated on me during that time, and now he's declaring a divorce. To keep mocking his father and throw the care onto me is something I could never forgive. Then, right after that, my usually silent father-in-law suddenly burst out laughing and said,
I'll show that worthless son a real hell.
My name is Clarissa, and I'm a 40-year-old part-time housewife. I met my husband Kevin 16 years ago through a mutual friend. I was a school teacher, and Kevin worked for a small to mid-sized company. He was easygoing, or positively speaking, he had a cheerful personality. He was the opposite of me, who was often described as too serious, but perhaps I was attracted to the qualities I lacked. Our relationship progressed smoothly, and on our second anniversary, he proposed to me. I happily accepted, and we got engaged. My parents approved of the marriage, and next, we went to greet his family. His mother had passed away when he was in high school, and his father, Connor, a senior executive at a large corporation, lived alone. His family home was quite a mansion, which made me nervous.
Ah, glad you could come. I'm genuinely happy to meet you.
He looked stern and serious because of his high social status, but he had a warm smile. He was consistently kind to me, and, of course, approved of our marriage.
Clarissa, are you sure about marrying this foolish son of mine?
I care deeply for Kevin.
I see. Kevin, make sure you take good care of Clarissa.
I will, Dad. With that, meeting his family went smoothly. On the way back, Kevin, scratching his head, said,
Dad's pretty strict with me. I can't really stand up to him. But he's sweet on you, Clarissa.
Oh?
Looks like you've won him over. Make sure to keep on good terms with him.
Of course, I will. Afterwards, we had a small wedding ceremony. And at that time, my father-in-law gave us a wedding gift of $6,700. And so began the life of Kevin and me. We started living in a rental apartment, about a 30-minute drive from his family home. However, we soon ran into a problem. Frankly, Kevin's salary alone was not reassuring. I liked my job as a teacher, so we both worked, but he was surprisingly bad at doing household chores. All the housework was left to me. Even if I asked, he wouldn't even vacuum.
We're married now, and housework is the wife's job. I'm the husband. I work and come home tired.
This was his argument, but I was just as tired from working. Even when I expressed this, his attitude didn't change. Gradually, I got used to him not doing any housework, and I ended up taking care of everything myself. Time flew by, and it had been 5 years since we got married. When I turned 30, a new problem came to light. We hadn't been able to have children. I love kids, which makes sense since I'm a teacher. Kevin wanted kids too, but there was no sign of pregnancy. We both got checked out at a fertility clinic, but neither of us had any issues. We didn't understand why we couldn't conceive, though they say these things happen sometimes. After getting the results, I said to Kevin, "Hey, should we consider trying advanced fertility treatments? They're expensive, but..."
What?
He frowned all of a sudden.
It's a waste of money to spend on stuff like that. Besides, it's your fault we can't have kids in the first place.
But the tests said there was nothing wrong.
No, they're wrong. If there's nothing wrong with me, it has to be you. We can't have kids because of you. Aren't you sorry for that?
He kept blaming me for our inability to conceive. He continued to say things like,
"Apologize to me for not being able to have kids."
And I felt increasingly cornered mentally. Eventually, I began to believe that it was indeed my fault. He blamed me, and I also blamed myself. So I started losing a lot of weight. One day, I went to my in-laws' house, alone, on an errand, and my father-in-law, Connor, was shocked and spoke to me.
"Clarissa, you look pale. And you seem to have lost weight. Is something wrong?"
"I'm sorry, Connor. I may not be able to give you a grandchild because of me." He supported me as I broke down, crying. As I tearfully explained the situation, he said to me,
"There's no blaming anyone for this. It's just something that can't be helped. Clarissa, you shouldn't blame yourself."
"Oh, Connor."
There are plenty of happy couples without children. That's all you need to aspire to. Don't worry about giving me a grandchild or anything like that.
"Thank you, Connor." After that, he called Kevin and scolded him quite severely for how he had treated me. When we came back home, he was fuming.
"My dad yelled at me because you ratted me out. How could you do this to me?" It's your fault we can't have kids. So why do I have to get yelled at? This makes no sense."
Even after being scolded by his father, Kevin didn't change his stance that it was my fault we were infertile. From then on, as if to show his anger towards me, he wouldn't lay a finger on me. 10 years passed, and I turned 40. Since there was no intimacy, having children was out of the question, and I had long given up on pregnancy. Still, we functioned as a married couple. Though our relationship was cold, we did talk. I continued to handle all the housework and the more bothersome tasks. Over these 10 years, Connor was always considerate and kind to me. When I cooked too much for dinner, I would take it to his place to check on him. He would give me delicious sweets or gifts to take home with me. That's how I've been living. When he retired from his job 3 years ago, we even celebrated his retirement. But then, tragedy struck. As usual, I texted him saying I was on my way over, but there was no reply. A bad feeling washed over me, so I rushed to his place and entered the house with my spare key, only to find him collapsed in the hallway. Connor, please hang in there. I called an ambulance right away, went to the hospital, and I've also contacted Kevin. They say he had a stroke. He's had surgery, but they're saying a full recovery is unlikely. They're saying there's a high chance he'll be bedridden.
Dad had a stroke? And he's going to be bedridden?
It seems he was shocked too, because he left the hospital room. After that, Kevin and I decided to discuss what to do next at home. Then, nonchalantly, he dropped this on me.
We're going to live at my parents' place from now on, and you're going to take care of Dad.
What? But I have a job.
Quit it then. Is your job more important than my dad?
He snapped at me, seemingly outraged. Connor has been my lifesaver, but my job is just as important to me. I suggested relying on caregiver services, but he refused, saying it would be a waste of money. And so, with a heavy heart, I quit my job and dedicated myself to taking care of my father-in-law at my husband's family home. He's now suffering from hemiplegia and aphasia. He can hardly speak or move, so he's bedridden.
Old man being like this is pretty miserable. Well, I'm counting on you for the rest, Clarissa.
As soon as Kevin got home, he just said this in front of his father and went off to another room. While I was fuming, Connor told me something astonishing. After that, Kevin just dumped all the care for his father on me and didn't even try to help. Not only that, but he began coming home later and later and was hardly ever home. I struggled with the unfamiliar task of caring for him for several months. It was about 8 months after Connor had the stroke. Kevin came home late again that day. "Ah, you're home." Kevin, possibly drunk, walked into his father's room and started saying this to me.
Your plain face is quite a sight, not even wearing a bit of makeup again today. You're failing as a woman.
The reason I don't wear makeup is because I sweat from caregiving and also to keep it off Connor. And yet, he has the nerve to say that. As I was about to retort, he continued.
But I won't have to see this plain face after today. Here, sign this.
He unexpectedly shoved divorce papers in my face. As I stood there shocked, he went on.
I'm sick of being with a plain, barren wife who can't even put on makeup. I've got a cute girlfriend now. I'm going to live with her, so hurry up and sign.
Hearing this felt like a blow to the head. You've been cheating on me? And you're serious about divorcing me for her?
Yeah, that's right. I've been thinking about when to dump you anyway. Sign the divorce papers. I'm leaving this place today.
He then flaunted a large suitcase. What? You're leaving? What about your father?
Like I can stand taking care of that bedridden old man. You take care of him. It's your responsibility.
But you're his son. You're abandoning your own father?
Say whatever you want. Oh, and I'll be taking Dad's inheritance, just so you know.
As I stood there, speechless and unable to stand, he added, as if he remembered something.
Oh, I'll be taking this too. It's no use to a bedridden man, right?
Before I knew it, he had Connor's credit card in his hand. He left without listening to me as I tried to stop him. I stood there alone, shaking with clenched fists. I couldn't forgive him for pushing the caregiving onto me, cheating, and then asking for a divorce out of the blue. He kept mocking Connor, dumped the care on me, and just expected me to handle it. I couldn't let this slide. He needed to be punished for this. Yet I had already quit my job and I wasn't financially equipped. Even though I was desperate, I couldn't leave my kind father-in-law. While I felt hopeless, Connor, who had been silent until now, suddenly burst into laughter.
I'm going to show that worthless son of mine what hell is.
He sat up abruptly and perched on the bed. Actually, he had been making progress in his rehab, and his aphasia and physical condition had improved to the point where he could get up on his own. One day, he shared something shocking with me.
Even if I continue rehab and get better, I want you to let Kevin think I'm still bedridden.
Could he have anticipated the situation? As I stood there, astonished, he continued.
Just as I thought. That guy turned out to be a real piece of work. Thank you for putting up with everything until now, Clarissa.
Connor.
Let me handle things from here on out, okay? First off,
the next day, when I went to ask about Kevin at his company, they simply said he had quit. I tried reaching out to places he might go and to our friends and acquaintances, but he was nowhere to be found. He had completely vanished. However, Connor just smirked and said,
just watch.
A month later, as Connor and I were at home, someone began pounding on the front door. When I peered through the peephole, there was Kevin, his face beet red. I looked at my nodding father-in-law and let him in.
Hey, Dad's credit card has been declined. Did you cancel it?
As he started yelling in the entryway, I silently headed toward the living room.
Wait, what do you think you're... What the...
Kevin, who had followed me, was stunned to see his father sitting on the sofa.
Dad? Why? Weren't you supposed to be bedridden? It's been a while, Kevin. Take a seat over there.
As Connor spoke calmly, Kevin sat down on the sofa, trembling. I stood next to Connor with a stern expression.
I was the one who canceled the credit card. Why should I let you use my money? Dad, it's not like that.
Connor ignored him and looked at me. I spoke in a quiet voice. I'm going to go after you for infidelity. I want alimony.
What? Alimony? What are you talking about?
Remember? You confessed to cheating before, right? It's only fair to ask for alimony. He stammered, but he eventually blurted out.
I never cheated. There's no proof.
I silently slammed several photos onto the table. They showed him entering a hotel with a young woman and kissing her.
What the hell is this?
Your father had a detective investigate.
A detective? You shouldn't have been able to find me. I was in the next state.
Then Connor said with a look of disbelief.
If you look at the credit card statements, it's easy to figure out where you are. You always use the same hotels. You're truly a fool. Oh.
His face went pale, but he quickly tried to regain his composure.
This happened after we got divorced. It doesn't prove I cheated during our marriage.
Excuse me? We're not divorced yet. When I showed him the divorce papers that hadn't changed since that day, Kevin grew even paler.
You haven't filed them yet?
Of course not. You think you can just disappear without discussing money and leave everything to me?
But...
As he hung his head, Connor spoke in a stern voice.
It looks like you've racked up some debt, haven't you? You were probably counting on my estate to bail you out. What? How did you even... But Dad, I'm the only one who can inherit your estate, so what's the big deal?
Watching him, my father-in-law just scoffed.
I've decided to give my estate to Clarissa while I'm still alive. You will be excluded from the inheritance. You won't get a thing. It seems you were banking on me dying soon, but you miscalculated. What? I'm being excluded from the inheritance?
Despite Kevin's pleas to reconsider, Connor was serious. Realizing this, Kevin turned to me, begging.
Clarissa, I messed up big time. I'll break it off with the other woman. Let's start over. And you haven't filed the divorce papers yet, right? This will work perfectly.
In response to his desperate plea, I raised my voice and told him straight. As if I'd ever start over with you. We're getting a divorce. I'm going to demand my share of the property, so pay up and get lost.
No.
I threw him out of the house as he hung his head low. Later on, my divorce from Kevin was finalized. I managed to receive half of our joint savings without a hitch. With no inheritance from his father, Kevin was quickly dumped by his mistress. Now estranged from Connor as well, he's apparently rolling into a shabby apartment, chased by debt collectors. Hearing about his misfortune, all I can think is, serves him right. As for me, after receiving the gift from my father-in-law, I was introduced to a tutoring school run by one of his acquaintances. I began working there as a teacher. As for Connor, he moved into a slightly smaller house, hired a caregiver, and is living a comfortable life. His health has greatly improved, and we sometimes have lunch together. I'm grateful to him and want to keep moving forward, lighting up my life with positivity.
Don't you know that playing with women is an art, and cheating is what makes a man? Don't you think I'm such a gorgeous husband?
I've reached my limit. I am Martha, 52 years old. I work part-time as a cleaning lady in a nursing home. I have been married to a janitor my age for 25 years. We have 2 children, Harry and Jean. They are both college students. One day before work, my husband started holding a bottle I had never seen before, and I was like, huh? Perfume? I raised my eyebrows because my husband had never used perfume since we were married. Then he gave me a condescending look and said something about why I shouldn't use perfume.
No, it's not bad, but...
I'm not saying it's bad, but why all of a sudden? I simply asked him about it. And then...
A man of any age needs to improve himself.
And suddenly...
A woman is no longer a lady when she has a child. They just become mothers. A man is still a man because he doesn't have to give birth.
He dodged my question, saying that there might be a difference in perspective here. And presbyopia.
You need to take those glasses off right now. You're shifting them to look at things. I'm changing to double vision colored lenses at work because I want to take care of myself at my age.
And my husband pulls out a pair of purple-colored glasses from his pocket to show me. It was a very shiny pair of glasses with silver frames on the top. He didn't seem to like the way I was judging him by the look on his face. As he put the perfume away in his bag, he sprayed it in my face. I gagged on the harsh mist. I coughed and cried.
It's a sanitizer for an old hag.
He laughed, and laughed, and laughed, and then he slammed the door and went to work. Perfume. Colored glasses. I was horrified by this surprising array of things, and I was also horrified by his aggressive way of talking to me, spraying perfume on my face. That was the beginning of my husband's aggressiveness towards me. The next day, I was standing in front of the bank, feeling very sad. Why was my husband like that yesterday? I don't think there is a single person who wouldn't be depressed by getting belittled and having perfume sprayed on their face. But I didn't want my sons to see me unhappy. And also, because of my pride in working at the nursing home, I never wanted the people at the facility to see a depressed face. So, there was only one solution. I was a little bit depressed at times like these. Let's go out for a nice lunch alone to blow off steam. I have a bank account with my earnings from my days when I used to be single. I went out in front of the station with the bank book of my personal account. My mother opened this account at the post office when I was born, and has been funded ever since. And I still save the money for my cleaning job by separating it from the monthly household expenses. I had hoped to use it for my first and second son's weddings, and I have been spending up to $50 a month of it on treats like this. But I didn't feel the need for a reward so soon and didn't use it for a few months. This is a secret course for me. But when I went to the ATM to withdraw the money, I was surprised. I checked my balance, and to my surprise, it was 0. Huh? What? My mind went blank. I rushed to check the contents of the bank book. That's the only place I could think of. I ran home. I was too weak and pale to comfort myself. Did you use the money from my savings account? I hold up the bank book, and he says,
I spent it. So what?
That was the dreadful reply from my husband. You spent it?
Because we're family, and what belongs to the family belongs to everyone.
What kind of philosophy is that? This was to fund Harry and Jean's future wedding and new house. You can't touch it. You say what belongs to the family belongs to the whole family, but you can't just spend it all by yourself, I retorted. Then,
a wonderful family project. It's a dirty job you have, isn't it? That's why I have to go looking for another woman.
What? A woman? I raised my voice. It was so predictable. Oh God, a woman.
Unlike you, I'm young at heart. But think about it. Like I said before, you can't just have romantic feelings for your mother. That's more dangerous, right? But that's on you too, because you're not even trying to be a proper woman. You're just doing a dirty job, like cleaning houses to earn money. I'm a better person than you. I'll probably meet with the right girl. I like young women. They smell good, and they don't whine like you.
That's too much for him to say. Just when I confront him about an affair, he belittles me for my age and tells me that I'm in the wrong. What? My blood rushes to my head in anger, and my words become louder. My eldest and youngest sons heard the commotion and came downstairs. They could not enter the living room, so they peeked by the door. My husband did not notice this and continued to talk to me.
Don't you know that playing with women is an art and cheating is what makes a man? Don't you think I'm such a gorgeous husband? You don't think so, huh? You're just a mother and a cleaning lady. If you have a problem with me, get a divorce. You can't do it anyway because I'm the one who makes our living.
I couldn't take it anymore. The blood rushing to my head exploded with a bang. I'll gladly do it, I shouted and poured water on him. I'm going to clean up your filthy mess, so pack up your stuff and get out now.
Pack up my stuff and send it here. Fill out the divorce papers there first and send them to me, and I'll sign for them.
He took a scrap of a receipt from his wallet and scribbled the address on the back of it and left. I stood in the room afterwards. Why do I have to pack your stuff? Who has been supporting this house? I trembled for a while in anger, but after 2 hours I began to feel uneasy. Will this house be able to hold up? Well, I'll just have to make do. I'll work more hours at my part-time job. I called out to my oldest and second son who were peeking out the door. It had been 2 hours and they were still there. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad are fighting, but you guys don't have to worry about anything. I'll work more at my job. My eldest son blurts out in response.
Dad suddenly changed with his stinky perfume. He said having kids makes him old. He said that we're a burden.
What? A burden?
Yes, he said he wanted to be young. Having kids is a burden, he said.
I reminded myself that this was no time for insecurity. You're my reason for living. I won't let you be inconvenienced until you're old enough to live on your own. My work ethic was ignited. Mrs. Martha, have you been cleaning here more often lately? The one in the wheelchair is Mrs. Lucy. She's one of the residents of this nursing home. Well, I'm in need of some money. I laugh in reply as I move the mop around. But I'm getting fat and I should exercise this much. Mrs. Lucy looks at me and says, But your hands are getting so red. Mrs. Lucy reaches out from her wheelchair and grabs my hand. I was unexpectedly overcome by emotions at such a moment. Suddenly, tears fell from my eyes. It was so bad that even I didn't realize at first that I had sunk to the floor. It is not easy to support my sons as a single parent, but I couldn't sit at home and brood over my situation. I was subconsciously tense. I think I suddenly relaxed. I hadn't had someone hold my hand and worry about me since the separation. Mrs. Lucy's eyes widened at my falling tears, but she gently rubbed my back. "What happened to you? Tell me. I've been so grateful for all the help you've given me in cleaning my room. I'd love to hear your story and take the crap out of your mind." I couldn't stop crying anymore. I then talked to Mrs. Lucy, crying. Mrs. Lucy was rubbing my shoulder the whole time. A week later, I was in front of the meeting room of the nursing home. "Good luck!" Mrs. Lucy held my hand the same way she had that day. I nodded. "Shall we go?" We went into the room with another person. Inside the room, there was my husband.
"What are you doing here, calling me all the way from work?"
He asks me with a half smile. "I work here."
Poor you. So you're gonna say, please come home after all? Are you going to get down on your knees and say, you can't make ends meet?
My husband is smirking, wearing his new glasses. I sit down opposite him, but even at that distance, the scent of his perfume hits my nose. "Do you really think that's why you were called out here?"
That's all I know. You're saying that you're just here for your own reasons, but it's really because you don't want your 2 sons to see this, right? But that doesn't make any sense. What's with the guy next to you?
My husband glares at the man next to me.
Oh, come on. You started cheating on me too? But then again, you're still wearing makeup the same way as before. You haven't lost any weight. I guess you're asking me to get down on my knees too.
My husband laughs without any sense of shame. He really thinks I'm such a crybaby. He even claps his hands and laughs. The man next to me offers his business card.
Martha is here to talk to you about post-divorce property. I'd like to talk to you about your post-divorce assets. I'm Roy Edwards, her attorney. What?
In an instant, my husband's laughter stopped. He probably thought I was having an affair with a lawyer. I guess he wasn't expecting that. He gulped. Mr. Edwards is the son of Mrs. Lucy, the wheelchair-bound woman who had approached me before. That time, when Mrs. Lucy rubbed my shoulder, "How can there be such a terrible story?" Mrs. Lucy cried as she spoke to me. She was angry with him as if I were her own. "You work so hard cleaning the room and say cheerfully, 'I'm done,' and smile at me. You know how much you inspire us, and you come up a lot in our conversations at meals. Everyone's always saying how nice you are. We've been talking about how you've been a little down lately." And Mrs. Lucy introduced me to her son. That's how it happened.
Huh? She's the one who asked for the divorce. I'm not paying alimony. I wouldn't have divorced her if I wanted to pay.
My husband's attitude changed as soon as he heard the word lawyer. He suddenly spoke respectfully and toned down his voice.
Where was his, I'm getting a divorce now? I won't give you a divorce if you're going to make me pay.
He's really saying that? But Mrs. Lucy smiled. Whoever requested the divorce doesn't have anything to do with the payment of alimony. And if you don't agree to the divorce, we will go to court. I'm going to explain now that you, the husband, is entirely to blame. It's due to cheating. You don't believe that this is unfair and that the husband is entirely to blame?
There's a reason, but...
Whatever the reason, you cheated on her. My husband is panicking and tries to make a counter-argument.
She's just a mother with a plain face. I heard on TV that you can get divorced if there are serious reasons to not keep the marriage.
That's why what you say about a woman's worth is so questionable. Mrs. Lucy is blunt. But the main problem is... Mrs. Lucy pulls out a piece of paper. It was a debit statement for my bank account. As she's holding it up, she says, "It says here that all of these were drawn from Martha's account, but..." Then Mrs. Lucy pulls out another piece of paper. This debit card is in your name, her husband. My husband nods in a shaky way. He must have admitted that he used it. Mrs. Lucy's voice was slow in contrast to my husband's rapid speech, like a gentle, gradual overpowering. I see. Mrs. Lucy looked at me, and she confirmed it. Do you have any memory of making cards like this? I shake my head. I breathe in and answer clearly. No. Mrs. Lucy turned her face back to my husband. It looks like this was made with a family card linked to this account. You made a card without your wife's knowledge and falsified the application form. Therefore, you are guilty of forgery.
What's that?
It's a crime.
What?
In other words, it is a criminal matter. A crime. That word carried so much weight. They're words that people don't use in their normal lives. My husband was confronted with the reality of having committed such a crime. So, here are the card statements. For branded bags, cosmetics, accessories.
I don't have it all. I gave them away.
It doesn't matter. Mrs. Lucy brushed it off. I have to say something. I mean, how could you use your wife's money to buy a present for a woman you're having an affair with? I just had to butt in. Spending your wife's money while saying that cheating is what makes a man is beyond shallow. But I also thought that those crooked values should be beaten down, and I should cut him off at that point. I have the statement as evidence, so you'll have to pay this in addition to the alimony.
Oh.
My husband fell off his chair. That is why I called you to be present. Mrs. Lucy gets up and opens the door.
Mrs. Lucy told us the story, you know.
My sons came in.
Oh, you!
My husband, still lying on the ground, looks up at them. They both look down at him.
So, we're just a burden to you, huh? But we feel like you're the one who's being a burden because you spent our money and put us at a disadvantage.
Then my oldest son sprays him with perfume that my husband had left from the house.
I'll disinfect you. You get out of our house.
He cried the whole time. I watched him for a while. Shall we go? We have nothing more to talk about. Mrs. Lucy urged me to go. We left the room, leaving my husband snotty-nosed and shaking. The people from the nursing home were waiting for us outside. How did it go? Mrs. Judy, a client from the nursing home who was in a wheelchair, was in the front of the group and called out to us.
It was fine.
Mrs. Lucy's son replied. Everyone applauded. I look back at the meeting room. I wonder if my husband can hear the applause as he breaks down in tears. I was able to have this ending with everyone at the nursing home, my oldest and youngest sons. In the end, my husband and I were divorced. Mrs. Lucy was right. I got my alimony and my money back. My husband was thrown out, penniless. Of course, I got my alimony from the other woman too. Thanks to that, they split up.
I'm no good without someone.
I also got an email from him, crying to get back together with me. I'm not your mother. I blocked his calls. The day came when I had to withdraw half of the money from my savings account. That day was my eldest son's wedding. He's wearing a tuxedo and his beautiful wife is standing next to him.
You know,
my eldest son approached me.
Give me your hand.
And he places a small gift box on my hand.
Thank you for raising me. I didn't know what to give you as a present, so I heard that you needed something to write your name with in the cleaning schedule, so it's a pen.
My second son peeks out from behind me.
My brother said he wanted to thank you for everything. I wanted to do that too, so I also put in a little something.
I almost cried. I'll save my tears until the ceremony. I look up.
Thank you, Mom, for everything you've done. Your hands make me and Jean proud.
I look at my dry hands, and the bride holds them for me. I know a good hand cream. I'll buy some and come over. Thank you. I squeezed her hand back. Thank you. I live with the happiness that comes from being surrounded by so many people that I love over the years.